Hello everybody and welcome to Storm Reads. If you're new here, then I'm glad to have you, and welcome. If you're old, well, welcome back. I'm glad you're viewing this video. Today I'm going to be doing my July wrap up, and yes, it's getting up a little bit late, but better late than never, right? And I read 21 books, 18 of them were audiobooks. I started a new business with Color Street Nails, and it's been taking a lot of my time. I've been making graphics and doing things like that, so it's just been easier to listen to audiobooks, and so that's why I have so many audiobooks, and that I'm kind of in the mood for audiobooks. Anyway, so I have a whole bunch, and so I don't want to make this a really long video, so I'm going to try to be really quick about it and just kind of tell you like some highlights and what I thought of them. I don't want to like go into like a lot of detail or anything. I don't want a long video. It's probably going to be pretty long as is, but my most read genre was mystery and thrillers, and that's usually how it is. And with that, I'm just going to talk about like the books I can actually hold up, and then the rest of them will be ebooks or pictures because they were ebooks or audiobooks. And so the first one I have here is Agatha Christie's The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. This one is, I think, on the 1001 books you should read before you die list, and so it's really popular, Agatha Christie. I liked it, except the part that I was already spoiled to who was the killer at the end, because I saw it in like a movie or something. And so that was kind of a bummer, because this would have been probably 5 stars if I didn't already know who the killer was, because I do believe that if you read it, you will be really surprised at who the killer actually is. And then, oops, that wrong book there. And then I have The Nature of the Beast by Louise Penny, and this I believe is number 11 in the Chief Inspector Gamache series, and this is about a boy who kind of cried wolf about something in the woods, and they didn't believe him, and then he ends up murdered, and that leads Chief Inspector Gamache to figuring out what happened. And I've had some hit or miss with this series, and I'm glad to say that this one I really enjoyed. And oh, I forgot to tell you, I don't know if I told you, I gave this one 4 stars, and I give this one 4 stars too. And I think I misplaced one of my... Okay, and so my other physical copy that I have to talk about is The Amelia 6 by Kristen L. Gray, and this is a middle grade story about 6 girls who get to spend the night in Amelia Earhart's childhood home, where they have a mystery because some goggles go missing, and it was really cute and I enjoyed it, and I gave... Sorry about that jiggle there. I gave this 4 stars. Okay, and so the rest of them, I'll just hold up the picture. And so, next I have, This Is How I Lied by Heather Gudenkauf. I'm not sure if I'm saying that remotely right, but this is about a lady who is a police officer now, but before, like when she was younger, her best friend was murdered, and she ends up, because she's pregnant, she ends up catching a cold case file, which actually is her best friend's murder, and it has her POV, the sister of the murder victim's POV, and then you get to go back in time to what happened with Eva, I believe that was her name, and everything. And the ending of this one really caught me off guard, and that's probably why I liked it the most, and I gave this one 4 stars, because it was a pretty good thriller. I liked it. The Goodbye Man by Jeffrey Devers. This one is about Colton Shaw. This is number 2, and he is a guy who takes the if somebody has a reward out for a missing person, he usually takes the job because he's in it for the money. But he is a good-hearted man, and a lot of times he gets himself involved in things a lot more than just, here's the missing person and I want my money. If something is a little hinky, he tries to figure it out In this one, he goes undercover into like a commune cult type thing, and it was pretty good. I gave it 4 stars. I listened to this one, and it was read by Kaleo Griffith, and he's one of my favorite narrators, so I really enjoyed that. And 4 stars. Then I have Murder in Waiting by Lynn Cahoon, and this is a cozy mystery. It's, I believe, number 11, could be 12, number 11 or 12. In the Tourist Trap Mystery series, it's one of my favorite series. I've listened to all of them on audio, and so that is just the preferred way of doing this one. And the narrator is Susan Boyce, and she's really good. And this one has the main character, Jill, is the I think maid of honor for her best friend, and her best friend is kind of turning into a little bit of a bridezilla, and so she has to do with that. And then there is a murder that she has to solve. And there were some things in this one that I just really wasn't a fan of, and so this one got 3.5 stars. Normally it's usually a 4-star read, but this one was probably my least favorite of the month, and this is What a Meth by Jamie Lee Scott, and it's number 4 in the Gotcha Detective Agency, and it was read by Todd McLaren and Gabra Zachman, and it's about a female private investigator who takes on a case that her coworker said she shouldn't. Then she finds out why she probably shouldn't, because it gets her involved in drugs and murder and all that stuff. And so yeah, there was just, I don't know, some things that just didn't work well with me. I didn't like how things were left with her and her boyfriend Nick, and so maybe it gets resolved, I don't know, but I like Nick, so I gave this one 3 stars. Then I have Perot Investigates, and it is read by David Solcit, I don't know. Anyway. And this one is number 3 in the Hercule Poirot series by Agatha Christie, and I'm not really sure why it's put in as number 3, because it's a bunch of short stories, and short stories don't always really go very well together, and so this one was okay. I gave it 3.5 stars, and really it's just a bunch of stories where Poirot, investigates things. So it's got missing jewels and murder and kidnappings and suicides that are actual murders and things like that. So it's just a bunch of stories, and it was okay. The Witch of Willow Hall, and this is by Hester Fox, and this picture doesn't say who it was read by, and I can't remember. But this one is kind of like a historical fiction / romance with a little bit of a gothic feel, and I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. It's about a family who moves into this place, Willow Hall, and there's some bit of ghost and things, and where the main character, whom I can't remember her name, I don't know if I wrote it down anywhere. Probably not, because I never do that. Oh. Anyway, she finds out that she's got a little bit of witch in her, and so maybe it's a little magical realism. The magic-y part is really small. Really, basically, it's kind of like historical fiction / romance. But I enjoyed it, and so I gave it 4 stars. The Nothing Man by Catherine Ryan Howard, and it doesn't say who it was read by, and I don't remember either. So this one is a kind of a mystery thriller, maybe mostly a mystery, I would say, about I think her name was Eve, and she is the only one to ever survive the Nothing Man whenever she was young. Now she's older, and she has written a story about the Nothing Man. And basically she wrote this story so that she could maybe possibly bring out the killer, because he was never caught, and she is bound and determined she's going to be the one that does it. And so that does actually happen. The killer is not very happy that she's wrote this book about him, and It's told in the POV from, I think it's Eve, I'm pretty sure, and then the killer, and then it's a book within a book, so then you get some parts from the book in the story. That took me a little while to get used to on audio because it threw me a little bit, but once I did, then I was fine, and I really liked this, and I gave it 4 stars. The Snow by Flint Maxwell, and this one is read by Matt Godfrey, and this is kind of supposed to be, I'm guessing, maybe an post-apocalyptic type horror-ish type thing that really wasn't all that exciting, and it's about a snowstorm in the summer, and it's happening like everywhere, so it's not just like there. And they went to this, a group of friends went to this cabin, and I think the guy's name is Grady. He's like the main character. They go there, and they're not, prepared for snow because it's summer. And so they're about to freeze. They've got to try to figure out how to get out of this. But there is something out in the shadows. And I think the reason why I didn't really care for this one so much is because you really don't get any information about, why is it all of a sudden that there's snowstorm, and what does it have to do with these things out in the shadows? You didn't really get much information about the shadow things, and there really wasn't enough of that to make this feel that much like a horror book. So I was a little disappointed. It was still okay, but just not really, it's not really as good as I wanted it to be. And so I would say, I don't know, maybe 2.5 to 3 stars, somewhere around there. It was okay, just not great. And then I listened to The Institute by Stephen King, which is read by Santino Fontana, and he did really good narration on this, which probably made me enjoy this a lot more than I would have. I know if I would have read this book, I would have got bogged down in Stephen King's wordiness and his descriptions, and so I do like to listen to his books. It's fun to listen and read at the same time, but I don't actually have this one, so I just listened, and I gave it 4 stars. It's about a boy, Luke, who is kidnapped and taken to the Institute, and he can move things with his mind, where he meets other kids who can do the same thing as him, and some can read minds, and it's all about him trying to escape the Institute and bring them down a little bit, and it was good. It was a little long, but it was good. And then I have Campfire by Sean Sarles, and I listened to this one, but I don't know, it doesn't have it on here. And this one is about a family who goes camping, and Maddie is the main character, and it's her family and then her friend's family. And they tell some campfire stories, some little gruesome stories, and then they start happening, and people start dying. And it was okay. The ending was probably the biggest shocker out of the whole thing, but getting there felt a little slow. And so it was pretty decent, like a young adult horror, but just not really great, and I gave it 3.5 stars. Then I have The Echo Killing by Christy Daugherty, and again, I don't know who it was read by, but I listened to this one because on my TBR jar for the month of July, which I forgot to talk about, I pulled a backlist arc, and well, I have the second book to this, but I didn't have the first one, so I'm a sucker. I have to read them in order. It just drives me crazy. So I went ahead and got this one, which was okay. Definitely not my favorite of the 2 that I read in this series. This is about Harper McLean, who is a crime reporter, and she is kind of hard-nosed and a little snooty and a little too gung-ho for me sometimes. And because of that brassness that she had, I didn't like her very well. And there is a killing that echoes her mother's murder, which is what drives her. And I think because of that, it drives her really hard, and so she gets to be a little pushy when it comes to some things, which is one of the reasons I didn't like this very well. And so I gave this one 3.5 stars because it was a good mystery, but I just didn't care for the main character very much. But it's a decent start to a series. And then I read A Beautiful Corpse by Christy Daughtery, and this is the second one, which is the one that was for the TBR jar pick that I had. And I liked this one a lot better. And this one, she wasn't quite so, I don't know, abrasive, I guess would be. She was just not quite as bad. And I've come to kind of accept her abrupt manner and how she is, and so it wasn't quite as bad. This one, it hits a little bit closer to home because the murder victim is a friend of her friends, and so she has seen her at the bars and stuff sometimes. So she kind of knows her. So this one has a face to, you know, that she knows, and so it's a little bit more personal. And the one thing I did like about her, because she's so abrasive and she's so gung-ho, she doesn't seem to care who she makes mad, and in this one she's not afraid to go and go after a guy she thinks might have done it, even though his father is kind of a highfalutin kind of person who's like rich, and nobody wants to go that way. They don't want to make enemies of that person, and so I liked it that she wasn't afraid to do that. And so yeah, I like this one better and gave it 4 stars. So maybe I will, you know, like the stories from now on, maybe, hopefully. And then the next one I have is No One Saw, and this is an e-arc that I received. And this is number 2 in the A.L. McKittrick novel. And I really, really like this one. I liked the first one, so I had a feeling I'd probably like this one. And this one is about a young child goes missing from the daycare, and nobody saw anything. Nobody knows what happened. The grandmother swears she dropped her off and that she handed her over to one of the workers, and the worker says she has never saw Emma there, and she never saw the grandmother. And so him and his partner has to figure out what happens, and so they have to go through the timeline over and over to try to figure out who's lying and what are they missing and stuff like that. And I really liked it. It was really good. And Derailed by Mary, and I hope I say this right, Keliko? I don't know. Anyway, there it is. And this one is about Kelly Pruitt, who just, it's the first one in her mystery series, and she is taking over her father's PI firm because he has passed away, and she's trying to take care of things that are happening, kind of wrapping it up and just doing a little bit of the jobs. She was never intending to go like gung-ho into it, but then this lady comes and asks her to look into her daughter's death because everybody says it's an accident and she thinks it was murder. The girl fell off a bridge and into the train tracks, and so they think that she was drunk and fell over, but her mother swears that that's not what happened. We do find out that the mother didn't know her daughter quite as well as she thought, and there was a lot of things going on with the daughter, and overall I really enjoyed this one. I like that she has a daughter, a young daughter that's deaf, and she has to deal with her ex-husband, and she's got a cute little doggy. I always like my books with dogs in them. Anyway, yeah, I really like this one. I thought this was a really good start to a series, and I can't wait to see what happens with the next one. And I give this one 4 stars. We are almost there. The next one I have is The Unready Queen by William Ritter, and this is the second one in the Oddmere series. And this is about Tim and Cole. They're twins. This is not a spoiler, but in the first book, they find out that one is a goblin and one is real, a human boy, and so they have to kind of go on an adventure to find out who is who. It's in the blurb, so I mean it's really quick into it. It's not really a spoiler. where they meet this young girl, Fable, in the woods. And this is her mother, the Queen of the Deep Dark. And she can turn into like a little bear. And so it's a middle grade kind of fantasy kind of book. And it was cute. I liked the first one, and I think this one I might not have liked quite as much, but I still enjoyed it. It was still a fun story. I think kids would enjoy it. Fable is kind of a strange character, and this has her in it a lot more than the other one does. And it's kind of about protecting your environment and being mindful of the critters in the forest, because they could be fairies and goblins and gnomes and giants, and they don't like it whenever you try to cut down their trees. So yeah, it was cute. I liked it. I gave it 3.5 stars, I believe. And then the last one I have here is my favorite of the month, and this is Peace Talks by Jim Butcher, and this is number 15 or 16, number 16, I believe. I can never remember what's the number of the series, but I believe this is number 16. It's the newest one that just came out, and it has been a while since this author has wrote a Dresden book, so we thought for a while that he was finished with them, and then he surprised us and come out with this one and another one that's coming out in September, and I can't wait. But anyway, this one, I can't really say a whole lot about it, but if you've read any of the Harry Dresden books, the dynamics over the series, like story arc, has changed quite a bit. There are a few things that I like, a few things that I don't like. He's definitely he's like the same, but he's not the same, and it's hard to explain without spoiling things that happen, and I don't want to really talk about that, so I don't want to spoil anything. But yeah, it's got all the characters that I've always loved. It's got Karen Murphy, and it's got Butters and Molly, and of course we got Mouse, his dog, and Thomas the vampire, and it's just got all the good characters. It was just a lot of fun being right back with all the characters that I enjoy, and I think that's why I loved it so much, and I gave this 5 stars. And I do believe that's everything. I hope I didn't leave anything out. I think that was everything. Fingers crossed. Anyway. And so there you have it. That's all the books that I read in July. I think in August I'm going to have to try to do a mid-month wrap-up and a end-of-the-month wrap-up so that I don't forget so much about what I read. Especially if I read a whole bunch like I did last month. So hopefully it'll be a little bit better and not quite so long. Anyway, hope you liked this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Hit that bell notification. If you have read any of these books, please leave a comment and tell me what you thought of them. And, you know, just chat with me anyway. Just leave a comment. I would love some comments. And then I will see you next time. Bye.